episode 174. Are you ready for AI being mandatory at work?
The primitive forms of artificial intelligence we already have proved very useful.
AI is a golden opportunity.
How do we ensure that this technology is regulated?
The long arc of technological history is now in an extraordinary new phase.
The AI 6 podcast with Joanne Sweeney.
Hello and welcome back to AI 6. In today's long listen, I'm answering the question, what if using AI at work wasn't optional but mandatory? My new book, AI Playbook, is a great place for you to start. I wrote it to help you progress your communications or marketing career. It's now available to pre-order at aimarketingplaybook.ie. In this episode, I'm sharing a recent digital download segment from Good Morning Dublin on Dublin City FM, where I joined Michael O'Kane to talk about Microsoft's bold new move, making AI use mandatory for employees. What does this mean for the future of work? Is Ireland ready for a policy shift like this? Are you ready for a policy shift like this? I break down what it means in practice, why it matters, and what Irish workers and employers need to start thinking about now.
The topic for today is a very interesting one. Do you want to tell listeners about it?
Yeah, so in the last couple of weeks, Microsoft has sent an internal memo around to all staff making AI mandatory at work. So they've joined Box and they've joined Shopify as the first companies to make this move. So I thought it was worth a conversation today.
So yeah, it's Microsoft, Shopify, and I think you were saying Duolingo, is that right?
And Duolingo too, yeah, as well as Box. Box are kind of like Dropbox. So, yeah, they're all making it mandatory. And, of course, the question that we all have at the tip of our tongue is, is this what's coming to all of us?
Yeah. So, well, tell us a little bit about that, Joanne. So what's the kind of overall response to this policy?
Well, I guess it's only happened in the last couple of weeks. But it has been released. And as we know, and as your listeners may know, like Microsoft is in the AI game. Like they've got skin in the game. They own Copilot. They were also early investors in ChatGPT, OpenAI, and they have all of these open source tools. So you'd imagine that this move is not just signaling to where our skills should be going, but they've got a vested interest. So basically what their policy says is that AI usage across all departments, all functions is now compulsory. So staff are required to use AI tools such as GitHub Copilot, which is their development tool, and then Microsoft 365 Copilot, which is their equivalent of ChatGPT. And they've been told you need to start using it in your daily workflows, regardless of your department or of your role or of your seniority, and it's also going to be linked to performance reviews. So when you're getting your annual performance review, you will be asked to share how you're using AI. There's probably going to be some tracker in terms of metrics and how your productivity is increasing and how your skills are evolving. Now, they are going to train all staff, of course, because they're not just going to expect them to use the tools and not know how. But this is a real move of intent, I would say.
The first thing that pops into my head when I hear about a mandatory policy that, employees are having to use AI at the workplace now, the first thing I thought about, I was thinking about what does that mean from an employer's point of view? And we've had discussions in the past about, ChatGPT being used to kind of take care of the menial jobs, emailing, scripting, writing, that kind of thing. Is this potentially an opportunity for employers to kind of push out the employees on their payroll?
This is a great question, and I've also been thinking about this. And for the first time, about 2 weeks ago, I heard a spokesperson from the Financial Services Union speaking on a radio show because they were having a conference, or he was attending a conference, and AI was obviously top of the agenda. And he said that unions need to be involved in these changing work practices, and staff need to be obviously upskilled but also protected. So I think we're going to hear more of that employee voice coming in and potentially a union voice. But apart from that, it's also the reality of where we are. And I think, we're having this conversation, and I have this quote that I have in my plug for my new book coming in on AI and marketing in September.
Shameless plug.
The beginning of shameless plug. But at the beginning of the book, I quote Ernest Hemingway, and he says, okay, let me try and get this quote correctly. It came gradually but suddenly.
Okay.
And I think that perfectly sums up AI. So AI has been coming since the 1950s, Michael. But then from November 2023 to now, it's just come suddenly. So there's this big kind of shake under our feet, and not panic, but an urgency that we're now in the AI age, and we all need to have those literacy skills and those competencies.
Absolutely. I can attest just for myself personally. I wasn't really familiar with AI outside of like the movie Terminator, for example. I wasn't really familiar with AI in the grand schemes of things until we heard about DeepSeek and ChatGPT. That's when, and having these conversations with yourself was when I really became familiar with AI. And you are overwhelmingly positive about AI. I think that's one of the great things about this Thursday digital download. It's been kind of squash some of those paranoia and fear with the listeners in regards to AI and stuff. But coming back to this policy, right? AI being made mandatory in the workplace. What's your opinion on this? Where do you see this maybe developing or going in the future? Is this going to become a widespread policy?
I think it is, but I think how you do it is really important. And I think right now, because I was only looking at the government's AI strategy and their milestones, so by mid-2026, there should be a safe place, for public and civil servant people to actually play and learn more about AI. And, in the next couple of years, everybody should be trained. Mm-hmm. But I think now every workplace should be having AI conversations. There should be a get-together or a meeting and, bringing in somebody and saying, well, what is AI and what would it look like in our organization? And it should include all staff, at least all departments representative. And then all organizations need a policy, because as we've spoken about before, shadow AI is a thing. Microsoft and Trinity's report from January this year showed that up on 30% of employees are using AI at work, even though there isn't a policy. So I think conversation, policy, reinforcing that this is an opportunity for staff members and not a way to push them out. And really being open and transparent is important, because the last thing you want to do is get people's backs up. And also, I think with knowledge comes great empowerment of people, and also maybe they're using it anyway. So maybe leaders can be the challenge and not the employees, because maybe they have the fear. So it just depends on the organization. But I'd say open conversation and take some action and get some training in.
As an employer yourself, do you see that becoming something that you maybe utilize as making AI mandatory?
Yeah, like we're already using the tools, and I'm already saying to my team, hey, listen, where can we use it in design, in our systems, in our workflows, project management? So absolutely. And as somebody who teaches it and who practices it and writes about it and talks about it, I have to have that experience, and so do my team. And a bit of an exclusive for you, actually. I have built a first kind of beta of AIJ, my AI assistant for public sector marketers.
Oh my gosh.
And so, yes, so I've trained her, I'm calling her, on all of my books, all of my podcasts, my webinars, my trainings. And I now have it ready for a focus group of people to test. So, yeah, as an employer, we have to. But again, I do it in a way going, hey, have you tried this? Let's try this. And giving people space and time to experiment, knowing that they're not going to get it right, that in that experimentation, it would never leave our business. It would remain internal until we hone those skills and we get it to a level of proficiency and the quality is good. But I'm always very open. Like I would say, and I say to you, I'm still learning. I don't know everything. And you have to make mistakes in order to know where those boundaries are. But I definitely have to make them in my business before I make them with a client. But I would absolutely really would require my team to come with me on this one. We have to be along this AI ride together. I can't do a solo run.
I knew you were a little extra chipper this morning. Am I talking to AI Jane right now?
No.
I knew it. I knew the day would come.
I'm just looking forward to my week off.
Well, Joanne, just before I let you go, my final couple thoughts just regards to this is kind of morally or ethically, should AI be made mandatory in the workplace if we are already using it so much?
That's a great question. And I think we need to meet in the middle of shadow AI and encouragement. I think it's kind of inevitable, but maybe we just don't frame it as mandatory. Maybe we do it in a softer way.
We were kind of mentioning earlier about, how it's going to impact employees, how it's going to impact employers. How do you think this is going to impact just the general kind of how the public are using AI? Do you think it's going to have an impact?
Absolutely. The public are absolutely crucial, because once we see the general public adopting AI and them having it mainstream in their lives, then that shifts everything. And I think we're kind of there already. I think, let's do a straw poll, and your listeners too. Let's ask 6 people in the next 24 hours if they're using AI and what they're using. And let's see what the answers are.
Joanne Sweeney from the Digital Training Institute, thank you so much, as always, for joining me here on Good Morning Dublin. If people want to connect with you, connect with your podcast, and maybe go pre-order the book, where can they learn more?
Yeah, go to digitaltraining.ie or just search for AI Flicks, the podcast, on your favourite podcast platform.